Hey, Michelle. Hello. Can you hear me?
Hold on a second.
Okay. I just want to make.
Yeah, I was trying to send it in a chat because I couldn't see my face, so I was typing and you were talking. I was in the wrong spot.
Oh dear. So, how are you?
Hanging in there. My grandson had surgery on Tuesday.
Oh no.
My
How's he
little,
doing?
my, he's uh, they put him to sleep before they ran the IVs. He's only 17 months, and apparently they had to have two IVs, and they couldn't get a good vein on his hands. So
Hmm.
he's bruised on his hands. He's got three little holes where they stuck him to run an IV,
Well.
and he's got 5 stitches across the back of his neck near his spinal cord. And
Oof.
yeah, he's doing good though. He's snuggling his meemaw, that's for sure. And the anesthesia, he had it done on Tuesday, and then I watched him Wednesday, and oh my gosh, you wish your kids would take a nap, but this one was like, it was going on 2 hours and 45 minutes. And my mom's like, should we wake him up? And I'm like, you be the bad guy.
I know, right?
Well, she kept nudging him, and he was in a sleep. He was just like, he was out.
Yeah,
It took
that
him
anesthesia
forever.
ain't no joke.
And today, when he took a nap on me, also. We both
Mhm.
were out.
Yeah, that
But
anesthesia ain't no joke, boy.
we're just waiting now for the biopsy results to come back and tell us if it's malignant or benign.
Mm. How long did they say before you get the results back?
They should be back the first of next week.
Well, much prayers to you.
Thank you. I'm like, I just had surgery and went through the whole cancer spill and the anesthesia, and I know what the anesthesia is like. That was the best sleep I had in a long,
Wow.
long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You get that anesthesia.
And then they're gonna wake me up and say, "Hey, look, honey, we need to help you go to the bathroom, and we need to get you in your pajama." No, we don't. You need to let me lay right here and let
Let
me finish
me
my
sleep.
sleeping. I don't want you waking me up and putting me in a wheelchair and wheeling me nowhere. I just want to sleep. And
I know
Joy
I did.
was, yeah, Joy was the nurse's name, and she's like, "No, but if you don't pee, then we'll send you home with a catheter." And I'm like, "Oh God, no."
Let me go pee now.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I remember when because I have a history of kidney stones. So one of my surgeries, it was a day surgery, so I had to have somebody pick me up, and I thought I had the anesthesia all out of my system, because we talking about hours later. So I get on the phone. I'm calling my girlfriend, da 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 da, and all of a sudden I hear Lisa, Lisa, Lisa. I was like, and I've never done that. I've never fallen asleep on the phone. But I thought I had the anesthesia out my system, but the anesthesia said, nope, wrong answer. I was like, no.
Yeah,
I was like,
when I had the severe sepsis, the septic joint, which ended up being severe sepsis, and I was in the hospital for a long time. They put
mm.
me after the knee surgery. They put me on Dilaudid in an IV, which is a pain
Oh,
medication.
I've had that once. Yeah.
And after the first time, I was like, "Ooh, this." I talked that nurse to death, and then I passed out. And so the next time she went to give it to me, she's like, "Are you still in pain?" And I'm like, "Yes, ma'am." I said, "But whatever you do, don't give me that stuff again because I like it too much." I said, "Give me something like over the counter. I'll cope." All
Yeah,
right, I
because
didn't
when I
come
was
in with. I didn't come in with an addiction, and I'm not leaving with one.
Yeah, because when I was because normally for kidney stones, what they'll do is give me Percocets. Well, this one weekend, I had a bad kidney stone attack, and since the VA out there didn't have an emergency room, I had to go to a civilian hospital, which they put me on Dilaudid instead of Percocet. And I was like, ooh. By the time I got, and the hospital's like only 50, like 10, 15 minutes away from where I live. So by the time I got to the hospital, to the house, I'm like, okay, I'm getting sleepy. And cab driver said, you need to sit up. I said, I am sitting up. I think I was sitting up. I think I was got home. I was like, oh God. I just like threw myself on the bed, and that was all she wrote. And that
Yeah.
Monday when I went to my regular doctor, uh uh she said, dump it. We'll put you on what you're supposed to be on, Percocets. I was like, yeah, okay. I like that too much. I like that. Hold on.
Yeah, I did too. And the nurse came back in to check on me, and I was laying in there watching SpongeBob.
Hey Mateus, how are you? Does depression
Hi.
make a does depression make a person lose attraction for you? Depression actually can affect all parts of your life. You know, yes, it can make you not want to be. I don't want to say attracted, but maybe you, if you want to put it in that terminology, no interest. That's what I was trying to say. No, yeah, depression can make you have no interest in your partner because when you're depressed, you don't have no interest in anything. So,
Well, and if say like me, for instance, if I'm depressed, if I'm not loving myself, then the other person, how my best friend, boyfriend of well, I've known him for 29 years, and he says if you don't love yourself, how can you expect other people to love you?
exactly,
So I don't know
exactly.
what shoe the foot's on in that situation there, but that's, you know, another option.
Yeah, yeah. Depression is hard because, like I said, you lose a lot of interest in a lot of things, and just everything. You know,
Oh
I mean,
yeah.
just as simple as getting up and doing your hair. You know, you don't want to do that. You don't want to take a
Taking out the
shower.
trash.
Nothing. You know, so you can lose interest in in your partner. You know, but that's not on a personal level. That's on a mental health level. I mean,
Right.
because you can love somebody all day long, but if you got that depression, it doesn't mean you don't love them. It just means that you just have no interest because the depression done took over.
Yeah, I know when I first started going through depression, before I figured out what it was exactly that was happening, I lost my grandfather suddenly overnight, and he lived next door. And I got the call, there were ambulances in the driveway. Then I lost my great grandmother the week after. But I didn't know that depression ran in the family. And so when it hit me like a ton of bricks. And my son was young. And I remember him going, Mama, are you ever going to smile again? So, I mean, I loved my son to death. He's the reason I breathe. But the depression just completely took over.
Yeah, yeah, and that's the hard thing about depression. You know, but then you got different kinds of depression. You know, you got the bipolar depression. You know, where
Hmm.
you're manic one minute and then you just like really depressed the next. You know, and then you got depression, where you just yeah. I'm not trying to do anything. I ain't trying to even get up out of bed. You know.
Yeah. Mine is major recurrent depression. So I'm going to deal with depression, but I have spells where it's major. You know, it's like blam in your face. You don't know what you're going to do, how you're going to handle it.
Yeah, with me, I got the PTSD,
I do
and then
too.
and I got the bipolar depression.
And I'm on clonidine for the PTSD night terrors.
See, they got
And
me on
then,
Ambien.
yeah, I was diagnosed with bipolar and was put on lithium. But they've taken me off of that, and they don't think I'm bipolar. They just think it's the major recurrent, which my mom and my grandma have, and then we have generalized anxiety panic disorder, and then
Right.
I've got PTSD from past experiences.
And see, and when you put all of that on one big ball, that's one hot mess. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's hard to deal with one symptom. I mean, with one thing. Like it's hard. It's really hard to deal with PTSD. But when you throw bipolar on top of it, that's
A whole nother level.
yeah, that's a whole new level. You know,
Yep.
and I know because I deal with both of them, and it's like, oh my God, you know, I keep trying to clean my house, and I'm looking at it, I'm like, nope, not today. You know.
Yeah. Well, and
And
it can even be something as simple as like this week. I haven't felt it. I just haven't felt it. I haven't diamond painted all week. I've looked at it. You know, I got my coloring out last night, colored a little bit, put it down. I just, I'm just losing interest. It's just a spell I'm going through.
yeah, yeah. And we do that when we deal with different what we deal with, you know, we go through our spells, you know. And the thing of it is trying to get ourselves out of that spell. You know, I always look at it like AA. The first step is admitting you're powerless, right? The
Right.
first step in mental health is admitting that you
That you,
have a mental health issue.
mm-hmm.
You know, that way when you have these things come up, you're aware, you know, and you got the tools to do what it is you know you need to do. You know, it's not going to fix it. You know, it's not going to make it go away, but it will make it easier to deal with the symptoms.
Right.
You know, and that's why I tell people, you know, when you on medication, you can't just do medication. You also have to do the therapy side of it. You know,
Oh
because
yeah.
if you just take the medication, that's really not helping. You know, you have to
Yeah.
they have to go hand in hand. You know, medication and therapy.
I used to go to group, and I went for, well, I've been more than once, but we went from 8 o'clock in the morning until 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and they fed us lunch. And in the mornings, it was a big group, and we had set a daily goal. And then it was people who were recovering alcoholics, or they were trying to get off drugs, and it was people with bipolar or depression. And then we'd split up into our groups, like depression and bipolar, AA, and so
Mhm.
on. And they would feed us lunch, and I've earned 2 badges for, completing the groups, but it actually did help to set a daily goal. And I'm gonna try and get back into that.
Mhm. Well, just like, you know, when I went into you know, like rehab, I'm like, well, what does having a hobby have to do with, rehab? But now I get it, you know, because it helps you stay out of your head as much as possible, you
Right.
know, because if you live up in your head, you know, I believe that's where like suicide comes from. You know, people stay up in your head and you start feeling these things, and it's like now you feel overwhelmed with emotion and don't know what to do or how to deal with it. So what do? Commit suicide.
Yep. And I noticed a pattern, and I don't know if this is something that happens with everyone, but when you get into your head and you get to that suicidal point, I get that fight or flight. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking, do I do it or do I just fight it? And
Mm-hmm.
twice it ended up winning. The last time it almost took me.
Right.
Um, but the fight or flight kicked in, the panic anxiety, and I get that feeling in my chest. It's like a pain in my chest, and I'm just like, no, I'm not going to feel that way. That's not happening. No, no, no.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's what I tell people you should stay out of your head. I mean, hell, I don't even want to be up in my head. I hate to see what's going on up there. I don't want to know. But it's basically just staying out your head and doing other things to help distract you from what's going on inside your head, because the more, this is what I think, the more we stay in our head and we get overwhelmed with the emotions that's going on in our head.
Right,
And then we get that paranoia, like, well, I know he don't like me, I know they don't like me, I know why you don't like me, you know and then it's like that paranoia kicks in, and then it's like that's a run.
yeah.
you know and that's a scary thing, man. That paranoia ain't no joke.
No, it's not. No, it's not. That and one of my biggest problems, and the medicine does help with that, is the night terrors,
Oh yeah.
that I was having, and the night sweats. It's not that I'm dreaming about monsters in my closet. These are real life situations with people that I know. I'm having flashbacks, or it's something that could really happen.
Right.
And that's
See,
why they had to put me on the medicine for it.
now see, mine's come out in the form of nightmares. Like I keep dreaming about lava, and I'm always trying to run away from it, and it feels so real. And I know that's going back to the trauma, you know, because it felt so real. But instead of doing the trauma way, it's going a whole different route,
Right,
you know. But at the end of the day, it's still the same thing. It's me trying to run from it, you
right.
know, which I've done enough running from it as it is, so I'm just trying to deal with it. My inside said run from it, which I think is manifested in my nightmares. But, I'm like, we ain't running. We spent many years running. It's time to stop, you know.
Well, and then I get into those dreams, and well, I call them night terrors. I actually tried Chantix to help me quit smoking, and that gave me night terrors. They told me it might, and oh my lord, I don't ever want to have those dreams again. But they put me on this clonidine for night terrors, PTSD, and it helps with my blood pressure. But I find that, I get into one of these dreams and I try so hard to wake myself up to get out of it, and I just can't. And eventually I
Mm-hmm.
just sit up and I'm sweated wet.
Wow. Wow. See, and that's crazy, you know, because I always said, I was telling my therapist, I always said, I'm back in New York where I never thought I'd be, because I never wanted to come back to New York, because I knew coming back to New York, what I was going to have to deal with, and I wasn't ready to deal with, but I guess it was time for me to deal with. And I said, I don't even know how to react if I ran into this person. I don't. I'd like to think I tried to take his head off, but I don't know how to react. You know, I know I'd be mad as hell because you caused this. You caused me to have to go through this mess. You know, PTSD.
Right.
You know, and all of this happened right around my mama died. My mama died October 31st, 88. The rape took place the first week after my mom passed. It was just like the first week in November. I'm like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Nope,
Yeah,
can't deal with it.
mine decided to crawl out of the woodworks again after 2000. Okay, so 2016 until now, I've had no contact. The last message I received from him, I sent him one that said, okay, look, any contact hereafter will be considered harassment and handled as such. So I will call the authorities. I get an email from him last week while I'm at the beach,
Hmm.
and it's him naked.
No. Oh, wow.
So I've saved it, and if I get any more, then I will file charges.
Mm. Wow. Uh, I mean, why do criminals like that? Why do they always do that? It's like, was that an intimidating tactic that you want to re-victimize your victim? I mean,
I I don't know. And my best friend Matt of 29 years, I'm dating him, and he
uh,
had a Facebook account. He has two. One's milder for the people that can't handle. He gets kind of offensive sometimes with his groups, but it's
uh,
all in fun. And he got shut down right before I got that email, so he's thinking that's the reason why, because he had had hit him up on Facebook and was making snide comments about him, like spreading herpes or something. I don't know. And so Matt went back and just played along with it and was talking crap to him. And then all of a sudden, his Facebook page has been shut down for the rest of his life. And then I got that
wow,
email.
wow, that's crazy.
That was not what I wanted to see. And I knew
I
who
know
it was
that's what.
from as soon as I saw the name, and it didn't have like at Yahoo behind it or anything like that. It was weird. It was just the name, the initials.
Mhm.
And I'm like, so I opened it and there it was.
Wow,
And my dad
wow,
said block him. And I said I can't, because I can't. I mean, I can pull it up if I type in his name, the email will come up, but it doesn't show up in any of my list. So he's done something to cause it to not. If I wouldn't have
right,
downloaded it, I mean, I can't block him.
right.
He hacked my
Wow.
my my email.
Wow. That is so not good. You know, I don't understand why they do that. I mean, was that supposed to be an intimidation tactic? I mean,
I know he was like wanting his ex-wife to come back to him. I know that because I'm friends with the children. That's the only people in that family I have any contact with, and one of them is 16 and one is 18. Um, you know, I'm not going to walk out of their lives like everybody else has, but
right.
I know he's been trying to get his ex-wife back, and she ain't having none of that shit. None of us are. Um, Justice, which is his son, told me weeks before this happened. He's like, I'm sorry I haven't contacted you lately, but I think I have COVID. And, he was telling me the spill. And I said, well, I feel like I kind of like deserted you because we don't talk like we used to. And he goes, well, that's the way I felt. And he says, but I just want you to know that you deserve a Medal of Honor for putting up with my dad as long as you did.
Oh, wow.
That's something. Because I had
I was
known him,
watching. Go
I
ahead.
met him in high school
Mhm.
and
I
never.
was I was watching. I, every now and again, I'll catch a whim up my butt and watch Dr. Phil. And I was watching one episode where he had this family on, and the woman gave birth to a son, but he's transgender. You know, he's crossing over into a female. Oh, this woman was so disrespectful. Oh my gosh, she was so. She said that's a mental health issue. I said, wait, what? Dr. Phil said, what? She said him trying to be a female is a mental health issue. He said, no. He said, would you be surprised that 50 tests has been done on the brain and it's a neurological problem, not a mental health issue? That's a mental health issue. I'm like, because he explained that something goes on in your brain where the neurons in your brain, instead of adapting to the male that you were born, has adapted to being a female.
Right.
You know, somehow the neurons got crossed. You know, this woman, I mean, I was like, oh, you so disrespectful, lady. I was like, this. Even a woman from a transgender advocacy was on the stage. She was trying to talk to her, and she would not let her get a word in edgewise. I was like, okay, I don't know what you're going to do with that over there, but sister, you being real disrespectful to your son, because regardless of whether he a man going to a female or a female going to a man, that's your child, and you're still supposed to love him regardless.
Yep.
And you're also supposed to respect him. He's a grown ass. Well, she's a grown ass woman. Now you gave birth to a man, a boy, but he's already going as a female. So he's grown, so you need to respect his boundary, respect him, man. Mm-hmm. And when she said it was a mental health issue, I said, at what part is that a mental health issue? Okay, first of all, let's go to mental health. Because mental health is about the chemicals in your brain being off balance. Right. So at the end of the day, you still say the same thing Dr. Phil is saying. It's a neurological thing. Mental health is a neurological thing. I was like, really? Why watch crazy people? you know, and I hate using that terminology because, like I was telling somebody, I used to hate having people come into my house or come into my apartment because I didn't want to see the medication bottles because I felt like they were going to say that I was crazy. I mean, I know I'm batshit crazy, but, crazy. And I'm like, and I could just feel the anxiety of it. And it's just like, so I try not to let people in my house because I don't want them to see the medication, Yeah. But at this point, it's like at the end of the day, I don't care. I said I needed help. I asked for help and I'm getting help. And if that means taking some medication, if that means doing therapy, so be it. And I could care less what you think. Because I'm pretty sure if we sat down and talked about your life for about an hour, I could probably come up with 5 different mental health issues in your life in like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
This is a a lot of people don't realize mental health can be it's a very serious issue because if left untreated, you can cause so much damage. To yourself, to others. You can cause so much damage.
Well, and two, due to the pandemic that we've been going through, which is on and off again, a lot of just people that don't normally have severe depression or these types of thoughts are now You
Mm-hmm.
know, they're offing themselves or they're dealing with severe depression. You
Mm-hmm.
know, killing more people, and opioids. You know, they're right now that more people than COVID or AIDS,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because even an average person like my dad, I see it in his face sometimes that it's just wearing him down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And my
and like, go
my
ahead.
son, he come over um the weekend before last, and we had a concert together we watched, and we talked and watched the concert. But he said, Mom, and we did use foul words. We had a blast. But he said, Mom, he said, you know what? I thoroughly enjoyed this. No wife, no child around, just me and my mom sitting here talking like adults, you know.
Mm-hmm.
He said he had an awesome time just kicking up his feet and no responsibilities.
And see, that's an awesome thing. That's an awesome thing. When I was going to my drug and alcohol classes for being a counselor, one weekend, it was one weekend in Chicago, and I remember this clearly. From Friday to Sunday, the ER, I mean, they were getting hit left and right. People still coming in with needles in their arm, ODing on fentanyl in a 72-hour period. I'm like, somebody please explain to me how the hell they even get fentanyl? Because fentanyl is barely used. They only really use that for like cancer patients. So how
Right,
the hell did you get your hand on fentanyl? And that's the strongest narcotic out on the line. You know,
right.
all you need is like a half of a pinhead of it, and you can be dead. Sorry, I'm going to get my cigarette. Um, and I don't understand it. I don't. How does that even get out on the street? You know, but like today I was talking to a girlfriend of mine, and she asked me a question. Right? She said, "What do you do when you have a friend, that don't want to talk to you? That seems to be mad and has not responded to any of her, emails and stuff. And I know the type of person she is. You know, I said, there's nothing that you can do. All you can do is just sit back, and when she's ready, she'll come to you. Let her come to you. Just don't push it, because you'll wind up pushing her out the door as a friend. You know, just
Right.
don't push it. And she argued with me left and right. You know, And she's like, well, you're supposed to be my friend. You're supposed to be. I said, but I can't sign off on that. You want to hear me say, you know, pretty much bully yourself into her, bully her into talking to you. And I'm not going to sign off on that, because if she don't want to talk to you, you can't make nobody talk to you if they don't want to. All
Right.
you can do is sit back and wait. And if they ready to talk, they will. Well, what about my feelings? That sound like you said I'm not entitled to my. I said, I didn't say that. That's not what I'm saying. You can feel what you feel, but in the same token, you have to respect the other person. You know, it's
Yeah.
not about you and your feelings. You know. Well, then she calls me back about. She calls about 10, 15 minutes later, and she said, "Lisa, you know what? You're right." I said, she said, yeah, she just contacted me and told me she was going through something. And I was like, she said, so you were right. I said, see, there go that paranoia. You know, I said, you can't, you just can't. You just can't. If somebody does not want to talk to you, you cannot force them to talk to
It makes it worse.
you. It does. And then you become the bully,
You
you
know,
know?
if I have a friend, like in general, that's going through something or is not very talkative, I'm like, hey, you know what? I'm here. If you need me, all you got to do, you know my number, call me, come and see me. You need to talk. My shoulder's here, my ear's here. And then eventually, they come around.
Yep. So now my question is, the whole purpose of this is, you know, letting people know that they're not alone out there dealing with these mental health issues. But the thing is also trying to break the stigma off of it
Right.
so that people see that it's okay to not be okay. That if you need help, you can go ahead and get help. Don't worry about what the next person's going to think about you.
Right.
Worry about you. Because at the end of the day, you can't help the next person. Only the next person can help the next person. But right now, worry about yourself. You know, let's break this. Now, Demi Lovato did a documentary that I need to watch. Um, she did a 3-part series documentary. I think it's on YouTube. I think that I want to sit and watch. She talks about mental health, you know, and it's time to break it. It's time to break it because if we keep um you know saying that, stigmatizing it, people are not going to want to get help. The people that
Right.
really need the help, they're not going to want to get help. And that's bad, especially when you deal with people with like schizophrenia.
Right.
You know, schizophrenia is one of the most dangerous mental health issues that you could have.
Split
You know,
personality disorders, stuff like that.
exactly, exactly, because you start hearing stuff and seeing stuff, and next thing you know, you done shot up somebody or killed somebody because you thought that they were the Al Qaeda. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And and yeah, those are the most serious mental health issues that, if left untreated, can be extraordinarily dangerous.
Well, and I've noticed a trend too is okay, so when a famous person such as Robin Williams, you know, Prince, George Michaels, whoever, they kill themselves or they drug overdose, it gets brought to attention on the media for so long, and it's just everybody's all about mental health and these addictions, but then it dies down and it goes to the back burner again.
Yep. Yep. And this is the conversation that needs to continue to go. It needs to continue. Because like because I'm a big George Michael fan. I really am. And one I think it was maybe a couple of months after he died, you know, somebody was saying, "Oh, he was using. Oh, he's using." No, he was not. The autopsy said he was clean when he died. But what happens is that when you do drugs over a period of time and you get clean, that has a tendency to take a toll on your body.
Right.
And for all the drug use that he did throughout the years, it just probably caught up to him when he got clean. You know,
Yep.
I mean, because let's face it, I mean, if you're getting high, the last thing you're thinking about is your health. You thinking about catching the next fix. You ain't thinking about you know your body or whatever else is going on. You know,
Right.
in the case of Michael Jackson, That doctor should have been sitting under the jail cell, because I watched it, because there was a woman doctor first before Conrad Murray came into the picture. And when he said that's what he was wanting, Michael Jackson was wanting the propanol, and she said no, I'm not going to do it. So he found Conrad Murray. And my whole thing is, how the hell you doing CPR on a man in the bed? You can't do CPR with a person in the bed. You have to put them on the floor. You have to put them on a hard surface. This man was doing CPR on him in the bed. I was like, no, you a doctor. You should know this. And in the case of, Prince, these people, it's like, but think about it. They had to go, going through a lot, you know, and drug abuse actually does go hand in hand with mental health. I know, I've been there, you know, trying to drown out and trying to forget about everything that happened. So instead of going to the doctor, you go to the street doctor,
Right.
you know?
Well, and a lot of these people, not only just famous people, but just people in general that
Mm-hmm.
have, money that
Mm-hmm.
could buy what they want or do what they want, they don't have any less problems than we do just because
Nope.
they've got money.
Exactly.
And because they're famous, I mean, that doesn't mean that they have a picture perfect life and, the picket fence and, they go through the same shit that we go through,
Exactly.
just on a different level.
Yep.
They've
You
got
know?
people watching them all the time, and their lives and what they're doing and where have they been and where are they going. And
See, and this is the issue that I have. You know, you see the red signs. You see the red flags. You
right,
know, sometimes you can't, because it's like really super subtle. But when you have somebody who is very outspoken, all of a sudden gets very introverted, you know, or what they used to love to do, they don't do it no more. These are all red flags. This is a telltale sign that something is going on with that person, you know. And, if you're supposed to be this person's friend, reach out to them, you know, ask them, is everything okay? If you need to talk, I'm here, you know, whatever. But in the case of these celebrities, you got a bunch of yes men hanging around you. And nobody said, maybe that's not a good idea, that you should do that. Okay, 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 okay. You know, and that's what happened to Michael Jackson. I believe that's what happened with Prince. You got too many people saying yes, 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 instead of saying, hold up, wait a minute. Okay, what's going on?
right,
I can't do it. You know, if it's going to hurt you, I'm not going to do it. You know, I mean, it's like I tell people, you don't just pick up a needle, or you just don't pick up a pipe one day and say, you know what, I think today I'm going to smoke crack, or I just want to shoot heroin. You know, that happens when there's something in your life, very traumatizing probably, and you self-medicate.
right.
You know, I have yet come across somebody that's had a very good life with no issues pick up and use drugs. You know, and it's like, let's deal with the issue. Let's deal with the mental health. Let's not, you know, we all gonna die someday, but let's not speed up that process. You know, and
Um,
that's why it's like, okay, it's so important. for this conversation to continue to happen, you know, because too many people out there are dying, due to drug abuse, which stems back to like trauma,
Right.
you know.
That's their way of coping with PTSD.
That's the way I dealt with it,
Mm.
and at the end of the day, I wound up having a mental breakdown. I wound up in the psych ward of the VA. But then that also helped me get onto the recovery, on the path of recovery,
Right.
and trying to heal. So it's kind of like a bittersweet pill. You know, I did it. I shouldn't have done it, but at the end of the day, I'm kind of glad it happened, because then it forced me to deal with my issues and to get the appropriate help I needed for myself.
Right.
Sometimes they talk about rock bottom. Sometimes you have to hit your rock bottom, but sometimes that rock bottom come too late.
Well, and I'm not. I don't know how to word this. I don't want to be a Debbie Downer, but I know someone that I no longer associate with, and we both know why. His thing is alcohol,
Mm-hmm.
and many times he has been put in treatment for this problem. He's now dealing with COPD and all that, but his kids say he stays so drunk he can't even stand up and cook for himself.
Wow.
And he's been in rehab countless times, inpatient, which the police put him in there. They said, okay, you got to go, or you're going to have to go to court and do all this. And um, he doesn't want to help himself. He doesn't
Wow.
want the help. So it's kind of hard for others to help him if he's just knowing he's going to go right back out doing what he was doing, if that makes any
Mm-hmm.
sense.
Yeah.
I finally had to decide, okay, look, I know I need help for depression, and I started getting it, but then it was like, okay, now I really want to help myself. I really want to get out of this. You know, please, somebody help me. If I help me, will you help me?
Mm-hmm.
And there's a difference.
Mm-hmm. It's just, you need help. But the thing is, are you strong enough to ask for the help? And a lot of people, they
You know
choose
what?
not to.
Well, and if I wasn't strong enough to ask for help, I talked to my psychiatrist, and she knows that I'm doing these other behavioral, like this right here.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm doing the Under Your Scars Foundation, the Scars Foundation by Godsmack. And, I'm looking at alternatives, not just medication, which I have to be on, and, talking to her, but other outlets such as you and my crafting friends, who have, a lot of them have the same problems that we have, whether it be anxiety or, diamond painting, helps cancer patients, and just people with Alzheimer, anybody, you know,
Mm-hmm.
it helps people. And I finally said, okay, look, seeing a psychiatrist and getting medication is not enough. I need someone. My boss man asked me when I told him I was sitting at home with my dog and we both had cancer and we were just dealing with it. He says, have you talked to somebody about this? And I said, yeah, but, you know, not probably like I should have. Because you don't want to feel like a burden to anybody else.
Exactly.
And you don't want to make them think that your problem's any bigger than theirs. Because I've been in some lives where, you know, someone's having a problem and someone else's, they'll pop up and their problem's bigger than that one. And then it's just back and forth, Who has the
Mm-hmm.
biggest problem? We've all got
Exactly.
problems.
All of us.
Yeah, and then
It,
when you go into these, like, not groups, but some of the lives and stuff you go into, it just becomes a railroad.
mm-hmm,
Everybody's got a problem, and theirs is worse than the other,
mm-hmm,
and they get repetitive with, like, the comments. It's like, I want that creator to see that I said this. I want them to see it. If they don't say it out of their mouth, then they didn't see it,
mm-hmm.
and that's not me.
Yeah. It's like having a support system. I have my support system, like I have my friends, I have you guys, I have the VA. So I know if I'm in a shit ass mood, I'm like, okay, let's talk about it, you know.
Yeah.
Like I know I'm gonna have a shit ass mood tonight because the temperature is like 88 and upstairs my room feels like 108. 'Cause I don't have an air conditioner yet. Um,
I got my fan
so
on. I got me one of those fans at Walmart. That thing's
mm,
blowing on strong. I'm heading into menopause. They said now that I've had to have the hysterectomy, I'm premenopausal. I'm perimenopausal.
oh, I've been
So
there. I done crossed that line.
I'm kicking covers off at night, and then I'm getting cold and turning the fan off and pulling the covers back up, and then I'm kicking them off because I'm sweating. Lord
Ah,
help!
you know,
And my
and
mood
so
swings. Whoo. One minute
you
you're
know
my
what?
best friend, and the next minute you're like,
You're
okay,
my
what
worst.
did you just say to me?
You my worst enemy.
That's the way my mom was. I told my best friends if I turned out like my mom when she was going through menopause and like their mom, they could divorce me. It was okay.
Yeah, because we already established I went through menopause, but I didn't have the symptoms. So I'm like,
Oh,
ooh,
wow.
ooh, that was a blessing in disguise.
Yes, it was. Look, I am more than willing to share. So if you would like to experience some of this, I can send you some of the symptoms.
You know what? I'm good. I'm good.
It's like my grandson and his little tater rounds, his little hash browns. He'll take one, pull it out of the bag. He'll let me take a half of I bite half of it off, and then he eats the other half. He has to share with me, Mom. So I'm
Oh
more than
wow.
willing to share with Lisa.
You know what? And I appreciate that, but I'm good. Yeah, because when I tell
Oh,
people that, when I tell people, I have pretty much gone through menopause, and they're like, wait, how old are you? I said, well, I'll be 56 in July. And I went through it, I think, in the last couple of years. They're like, wait a minute, how the hell you go to? I said, well, it's not uncommon for women who have irregular cycles to go through menopause real early. And in my case, that's exactly it. Because, um, like, I had 2 cycles in my whole entire life. When I turned 16, I had one, and then I had one 8 months later, and then it just went poof in the sky.
oh
I said,
wow.
wait, you know, so yeah, I went through menopause early because I had an irregular cycle, and they said it's not uncommon for that to happen.
I was
You know,
having mine twice a month. And then
ooh,
after they did the first procedure for the cancer, I was having it 14 to 19 days straight.
ooh dear.
And feminine supplies are not cheap
No,
when
no,
you're
they're
having to
not.
go through that many.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
so you've got people that are dealing with depression as far as women go, depression, and then you throw menopause on top of that, and you're trying to figure
Oh
out
my.
what part is the menopause and what part is the bipolar or
Yeah,
the
right.
yeah,
Where does one part end and the other begin?
yeah.
Where the hell, you know, and women, we are. we're naturally emotional creatures anyway.
Oh
So
yeah.
when you add bipolar and depression, and then you want to throw menopause on top of that, that's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, if you married, run. she might catch you in your sleep. You better not come back until it passes.
Oh my goodness.
you know, I said you better run and don't come back until it all passes.
Well, and I
I
know a
mean,
woman that actually went into menopause, at an early age, um, due to health problems, but her menopause actually turned into her having mental health issues.
mm,
The mood swings and it even after menopause, she was still having, and it turns out that I guess it's like a man's midlife crisis. I don't know, but she had to be put on medication for it because she was
what
showing bipolar symptoms. They just didn't see it, I guess, because of the menopause.
and see, and this is like I had a conversation a while back, about kids and mental health. I said, but see, this is why a lot of doctors don't like to diagnose kids when they're under the age of 5, because you really can't. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You really cannot diagnose a child under the age of 5. You can't. Actually, really, even under the age of 10. But because they're growing up, they're going through their things. You know what I'm saying? You can't label this child ADHD when it's just a part of him growing. So a lot of doctors don't like to diagnose kids when they're that young. Now, when you get up into your tweens and your teens, that's a whole different story. You know,
Now
because then they could
my
start cropping up at about that age.
my son was diagnosed with ADHD at the age of 9. And the some of the clues were is he kept calling himself stupid, and he would have trouble when he was writing. He's left-handed. Now he uses both hands and he still can't write. He writes like a doctor, but um he went to the doctor and they diagnosed him with that and put him on Concerta, and he was on it for 2 years, and poof, there was an immediate change in him, and he was able to be taken off the Concerta, and you know but he had to be put in separate rooms when they did testing. He had to
Mm-hmm.
count out loud. Like if he was doing math, he had to count out loud and use his fingers. So they
Mm,
would put him in another room when he did tests, because you can't talk during the test. But
right.
that was the only way that he was able to handle it and do it. And I'm like, don't ever call yourself stupid, son. You're not stupid. You
Exactly.
just need help.
Mm-hmm.
You just need help.
And there's nothing wrong with needing help. We all need help. Yeah, and in our lives, we all need help sometimes.
Hmm.
We can't carry this. We can't carry everything on our shoulders all the time by ourselves.
No, that's why that concert was such a release for my son, because he's a manager. He went to college and got degrees in business and business law and management. And I mean, he went from working in a paint store in Charlotte as a Indian, and now he's like a big chief. And he's married and he's got a great wife and my grandson. And he's the breadwinner. She works, but he's the breadwinner. He's the one that takes care of everything. And that for him was just a way to escape for a while and go back to when him and mom used to do everything together. And
Yeah, that sounds like what I call a decompressing moment. Because sometimes we have to decompress. Because if we don't, everything that we're going through or what we deal with, even on a day-to-day basis, that turns into a pressure cooker. And eventually, guess what? All that pressure is going to go, poof,
yep.
So we need, you know, to have those just decompressing moments. You know, and your son was hanging out with you and watching a concert, you know,
Well, and
where he
we
can.
ended up, the band, it was a two-part series, and the band actually told the story of how they came about
Mhm.
in snippets, because of course it's online. There's no audience but us in chat because of what's going on in the world. But
Right.
me and my son did more talking through the music than we just and he'd start and he'd go. We went to a show one time with my best friend, and the lead singer of the band asked for three kids to come up, and he wanted them to repeat the word that he said, and so it was the F word. First kid
Uh-oh.
didn't want to do it. Second kid was like, "Oh, I don't think so. I don't." And the third one said it, and he's like, "Oh, your parents are so gonna ground you." Well, my son told me the other day when we were sitting out here that he is so the father that would let his child get up on stage and do that. And I told my mom that, and she's like, "Over my dead body."
Oh,
I'm
wow.
like, yeah, well, you don't really have a say in this, Mom. This is a grandma and a son thing, so he's the daddy, I'm the grandma. We got this covered. You can't teach him those bad. I said, I didn't don't say we didn't say we were going to teach him bad words. We just said if the opportunity arose, and the lead singer said, "Hey, can a kid come up on stage?" Jacob's gonna walk him on up there.
Yeah, yeah, right. You
Have
know,
the experiences that we had.
and that would definitely make the kids' day, especially if it's a band that they like.
Well, and my son, back when he was younger, my best friend was a Taylor Hicks fan. She passed away with cancer at 54.
Wow.
But my son, he was a Chris Daughtry fan from American Idol, and
Mhm.
we've seen him multiple times. But they did a free show in Greensboro, and they weren't expecting 22,000 people to show up downtown for the show.
Ooh.
And so instead of getting up front where the big boobied blondes and brunettes and whatever, the groupies, so to speak,
Mhm.
even though he was married, we sat on a table near a beer truck on the hill and we could see everything. And it turns
Wow.
out that they kept playing the same song at the end over and over for anyone that stayed. And the train, I noticed, kept going back and forth across the tracks.
Mhm.
Turns out we were in the making of the video for that song.
Oh,
And
dear.
last year, my son said, "Mom, I want you to go watch this video." And so I went to watch a video, and it was of a group called Shinedown. And there we were, right there. They were taking snips from different rebellions that they had traveled to with all these bands and putting it into the video. And we were at that. And those are experiences that you can never take away from me and my son.
Oh no, never, never. And I like Taylor Hicks. I mean, because I watched the, that was back when I used to watch American Idol. I like his style of music, you know, Taylor
Yeah.
Hicks. And I did like Daughtry too, you know.
Yeah, and he
It's
actually, him and there was one other that my son likes that does country that was on there, and I can't remember his name now, but they're actually, Daughtry is from McLeansville, which is Greensboro. It's on the other side of he's like 2 cities away. His family lives 2 cities away, so
mhm,
you know. That was one of the first reasons that my son got into it was because he's like a hometown native, so to speak. And then once
mhm.
he came out with the music, it was just like, wow, powerhouse. And he didn't even
Yep.
win, but he still, to this day, me and my son watched his concert online and had a meet and greet
And that's
because,
funny. Go ahead.
no, I was going to say because of what's going on, it's all online now, but
Right.
yeah.
And that's funny because if you look back on different people, that made it really big. Jennifer Hudson, she was never American Idol, which I don't understand why, but she was never American Idol. And look at her. She done blew up, you know?
Yep.
Taylor Hicks. Well, Taylor Hicks was a winner. Who else wasn't the winner? Uh, that's doing it big.
Yeah, Daughtry wasn't a winner, and I wish I could
Yep.
remember the name of that country singer that my son likes, but my mom actually took us to see American Idol live that year, and we got to see him. And there was another one. There were two actually. There was one with long hair. I don't remember his name.
Bo
He was
Bice.
on, that might be it. And then he ended up getting into drugs, and he
Yeah,
was
that sounds
supposed
like Bo
to
Bice.
do, no, he had long hair and he kind of like
Yeah,
a Leonard Skinner. And he was
yeah.
supposed to do the Dick Clark's New Year's Eve one year, and he was so drunk they wouldn't let him on stage. And Adam Lambert is another one.
He's
Do you
another
remember
one.
Adam Lambert?
Yes, I
We've seen
remember
him
Adam
live.
Lambert.
How could you
The-
not? He was like, it was like watching a Broadway show in a one-man band. He
well,
was so theatrical.
let's not forget. Now, this one I will never forget because this guy he didn't even make it on the show. He never made past the auditions, but yet he managed to do his thing. What was his name? George Huang, and he was the one who did. He was an Asian dude who did Ricky Martin. She bangs,
Oh, yeah.
and it was horrible, you know. But yet he was on tour because he even came to Washington. Me and my girlfriend said, we gotta see this. We gotta see this train wreck. And believe it or not, he did not sound as bad as he did when he did the audition. And that's the one that didn't make it past the auditions. And he did his thing. I was like, okay, I see you.
I don't remember if there was one year there was a person on there that auditioned, and it was I guess middle-aged black woman, and she was wearing yellow feathers. It reminded me of Big Bird. Honestly, I mean, I don't mean to be funny, but what she was wearing, the hat that matched the feathers and all, yeah, and the singing, Big Bird did better than her.
Ooh.
But I mean, she didn't make it on Idol. She just did the auditions, but she was a repeat when they did like recaps. She was a
Mm-hmm.
repeat because she was just, why in God's green earth would you come wearing a suit that looks like Big Bird?
Like you straight off of Sesame Street.
Yeah, where's Elmo? The
Yeah, right?
Snuffleupagus.
Where's Oscar the Grouch?
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
just like this one female, what's her name? I want to say Sandy Boland out there in the UK, and I think
Oh
she
yeah.
had some mental issues going on. But when she opened her mouth to sing, she blew everybody away.
There
Whoa.
was America's Got Talent. I don't know. I can't remember the man's name, but you might be able to pull it up on YouTube. It popped up on my feed one day, and it was an older black man, and he was on America's Got Talent. And his story was, because they asked their stories, his story is that he served 30 years in prison for a crime that another man committed.
Mm.
A man had raped and killed a white woman, and back then they didn't do DNA and all that. And so they wanted to blame somebody, and they blamed him. Well, there's a group out there now that advocates for
Hmm.
innocent people, and he
Hmm. The
got out,
Innocent Project. Hmm.
and he said that while he was in there, he didn't let prison get to him. He watched America Got Talent, and he sang, he did preaching, you know, and that's why he was there, was because he wanted to, you know, be on America Got Talent. He said he was going to do that, and he sung "Don't Let the Sun Go Down on Me" by Elton John. And when he sung the
Wow.
line "To Wander Free," you could feel it from the very depths of his soul that he was so blessed to be free.
Wow.
It'll bring
Well,
tears to your eyes.
well, there was one, and I think it was on America's Got Talent, where this kid. Now I never watched America's Got Talent, but I had to watch the clip of this kid because it went viral. This kid, he was blind and autistic, you know, and you could see the judges going, "Oh dear," "Oh no," But when that kid opened up I forgot what he sang, but when he opened up his mouth and sang, as his mom said, he really loves music. You talking about a blind kid that's autistic,
Mm-hmm.
but he really loved music. But when he opened up his mouth to sing, Simon Cowell was just like, oh, everybody, I was like, wow. He blew him all the way. Everybody jumped up. You got it. I think he won it. He said, you got it. You got it. You got it. You got it.
There's actually been a few of those that I've seen of different races. I don't know
Mhm.
what race the one was, Indian but anyways, there's been a couple of, like, a blind girl was on there. She did the piano. One guy was on there. He was like Indian. He could play the piano. He was blind and he stuttered. But when he opened his mouth, you would have never known he stuttered. And they got the golden buzzer from Simon. And when
I was
I
like, wow.
Simon give the golden buzzer or a tear come to his eye, I'm like, oh my Lord, they moved him.
Yeah, because I think Simon kind of teared up when that autistic kid opened his mouth to sing. I think he teared up on that too, because I was like, is that it? Cowell, you crying? Ain't no crying in America's
You
Got
gonna have
Talent.
everybody crying. Yeah,
I
he had
mean,
to take a
hell,
minute. He had to take
you
a
don't.
minute. He couldn't speak. He had to let everybody else speak first because, he was just trying to regroup himself. Simon's not used to those emotions or the
He
front
can't.
he puts on.
Yeah, because he came straight from American Idol. So I know. I think the only reason why I watch American Idol was to listen to Simon. And it was like so funny to listen to him. But when I saw that and I saw his reaction to this autistic kid, I'm like, ain't no crying in America's Got Talent. Damn it, you an American Idol judge. What the hell you doing? Simon, we gonna have to talk about this.
Now, when my son was younger, and he got into American Idol, Steven Tyler was a judge on there one time. I don't know if
Mm,
you remember that year.
yeah, I
And
remember.
this chick came in to sing, and she was a hottie. I mean, according to men, she was a hottie. And Steven Tyler, not realizing he wasn't supposed to cuss on TV, said, "Shit fire and save my matches. Duck and see what hatches." And my son just
Oh
burst out
no.
laughing. I'm like,
Oh
no, he did
no.
not just say that. Me and my dad and my
No,
son are sitting there
Steven.
watching that. And Randy's like, hey, Steven, you can't be doing that. This is a family show.
And see, and this is the thing. I know we kind of got a little off track here, but you know,
We usually do at
when
the end.
I know we do. When Janet Jackson did her little performance with Justin Timberlake at the Superdome, now this is what I don't like. Okay,
Right.
and and he did that part where he was supposed to pull down her thing and she exposed her titty. Okay, first
Yes.
of all, Lisa had to go through her whole blind moment for about an hour before she can get her sight back. Cause I'm like, no. Because at first I wasn't sure. That's what I saw. I was like, I know that wasn't Janet Jackson Diddy on my screen. I know, and I had to Google it, and the whole social media was blowing up. I was like, oh my god, I'm
Oh, I
blind.
know.
But the part that I didn't like was that you banned her. She was the one that took the heat. I was like, why the fuck is she taking the heat? She didn't do it to herself. How come Justin ain't taking the heat? He's the one who did it.
Right.
You know, this and that's what I did not like. because, you know, she didn't do this to herself. She didn't ask him to do this. You
Right.
know what I'm saying?
Oh, I know.
It was a wardrobe malfunction when he put, because he was only supposed to pull down the outer layer of it, but he accidentally pulled down the whole thing and caused me to be blind for the next 24 hours. Um, and but yet you banned her and y'all blamed her. It's like, but why? She didn't do it to herself. She did not do that to herself. You
Well,
know.
I've always been like, when it comes to the Jacksons, I've always been like the Jackson 5. That was before me, but I don't care. I like old music. Okay, I can sing stuff.
Mm-hmm.
My parents will go. Um, who was that again? Oh, that's Pink Floyd. You don't remember them? They were from when you were, growing up.
Yeah,
Or
right.
other bands. But the Jackson 5 and then Michael Jackson and Janet Jackson were my jam.
Oh
Let's
yeah,
wait a
because
while. Let's wait a while. I heard that on the radio at work and I was like, oh, that's a throwback. But
oh yeah.
Latoya Jackson, I can't get into that.
No,
I
I
just,
can. She should have did what her sister Reba did. Her sister Reba did one song and then she went out spotlight. She did that,
yeah.
But and even talk about the Jackson Five. I mean, we literally grew up. They were part of our family. The music. I used to watch
Oh,
the
yeah.
variety show, the cartoons, and it always cracked me up. Because even think about it to this day, I think about when they had the variety show and they
Yeah.
introduced Janet coming out with this feather boa that's like 50 sizes too big for her, doing a Mae West impression. Come up and see me. So I'm like, no. I'm like, no. I'm like, look at
Yeah.
this little thing, and this boa constrictor is like 50 sizes too big for her. It doesn't come out. I was like, no. You
You
know.
know, well, and as far as stigmas go, if you were to look at me and my son, you would think, "Oh my gosh, okay, well, they like rock music." Um, uh, yeah, okay, so we like rock music. My son also likes country. I grew up watching Soul Train,
Mm-hmm.
American Bandstand.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm I like Eminem. We would If Eminem were to come
Mm-hmm.
to our town right now, we would be front row center.
I know I would be.
You know, but yeah, I mean, you would look at us and think, oh, well, they're into that grunge and heavy metal, and you can't judge a book by its cover.
Nope.
You don't know what's
Because we
going on in there.
we used one day because when I was in Washington, I was living in this like house for the homeless, and I was on the second floor. My girlfriend was on the third floor, and they had the little vents that go up into the rooms. And
Aha.
so one day, I think I forget I was listening to R&B and hip hop, and then I went to Garth Brooks. So when I come downstairs, my girlfriend comes downstairs and she said, she tapped me on my shoulder. She said, Lisa. I said, huh? She said, what was that? I said, what was what? She said, I can hear your music through the vent coming up in my room. And 1 minute you was listening to hip hop. 2 minutes later, I hear Garth Brooks. so,
Yeah,
so what's your problem?
that's like my son's playlist. I'm listening to the rock groups that we listen to. I listen to his playlist on Spotify, and then there's a little country thrown in, and I know the band Alabama and all this. And then
Oh
all of a
yeah.
sudden I hear I like big butts and I cannot lie. And I'm like,
Ah, ah, that is funny.
and another one, and he doesn't even remember putting this one on there, but it's in my Cadillac. That's where I am. And CADI. And I'm like, okay, son, whatever trips the trigger. But I raised him right. If he likes big butt, yeah, Sir Mix-a-Lot, come on. That was my thing. You know, so for
Hey.
him to just pop out with it, and me, I'm sitting there, I'm like, I was stunned for a
Ah.
minute, and then I was singing along.
That's like me going from OPP by Naughty by Nature and then going into Reba McEntire. You're like, wait, what the hell just happened there?
I was like,
Oh,
son, your playlist is named everything, and you mean everything, don't you?
yeah, mine's is pretty much too. I got like the old school. I got the hip hop, the R&Bs. I got the old rock. I got country. I got a little bit of everything.
Well, I'll tell you what, I did see a concert 2 years ago on TV of Earth, Wind, and Fire. And they can still sing it like they used to, but he is way too old to be wearing them tight leather pants.
He had dementia. Leave him alone. Yeah, and it's fun to go back. Like, like, okay, when I was in the military, a friend of mine had introduced me to this movie that I've never seen. You know, I don't know. I don't even think I've heard of it at the time, but he's like, "Oh, you haven't seen the movie?" I said, "No." It was Tommy. And I was like, so he sat me down and we sat in front of the movie and we watched it. And I was like, wow, that was good. Damn, that was an all-star cast. You had Tina Turner, you had Roger Daltrey, and you had Elton John, and you had all our people. I was like, damn, that's an all-star cast.
Yep.
You know, but that was good, but if you ask, like, I've talked to some people, I was like, okay, well, Pink Floyd for me has always been the wall. Okay. AC/DC Back in Black. I like
Of
I,
course.
I like you know, I like that. I like that. You know, um, like with Kiss, I like the song Beth, you know.
Yeah.
That they're like, damn girl, where where you get your musical taste from? What the hell? So what? I'm black, so I'm supposed to be limited to just R&B and hip hop.
Oh yeah, that's like me. You know, we're white, so we're supposed to be ho diggity dog and boot scooting boogie all the time.
You
Or either
know?
that or banging our heads. There's
I'm like,
stigmas everywhere.
exactly, exactly.
Stigmas
Because
everywhere.
when I tell people I like country, they look at me like I had totally lost my head. They like, wait, what? I said, I like country. Actually, I like country more than anything because they tell a story.
Look
I
at
said,
Darius Rucker, lead singer
mm-hmm,
of Hootie and the Blowfish. My mom
mm-hmm.
absolutely loves his country.
And there was another one. I think it was Charlie Pride who did country, you know? Um, and then I said, look, I said, shoot, you talk about my country days. I go all the way back to Alabama, Dolly Parton, Kenny
Oh yeah.
Rogers. You know, I go back to all of them. They're like, damn, girl, you said some names that, that I've heard in years. I said, because I used to listen to Eddie Rabbit. Come on now. I used to listen to that, you know, because they told a story, and like now, Garth Brooks is my favorite all time country, and I would die to go to see one of his concerts,
You know,
you
and
know.
then it's my parents, you know, my grandmother's generation, of course, you know, it was back when there was no interracial and, you know, that kind of thing going on. You know, that was a big deal, you know. But my parents, they never raised me and my sister to be that way. They raised us to be and like who we want to like. You know, when
Right.
I was in high school, I got in with a group of guys that had long hair. And
Uh-huh.
that was, oh no, you don't do that. But my mom said she met one of them and she's like, wow, he's really nice. And I'm like, yeah, and to this day, I'm still friends with him. My son is named after him because he was my best friend in high school.
Uh-huh.
And we weren't raised to, oh, you can't listen to that. Well, now there was one. I don't know if you remember, there was a group and they used to sing, what was the name of that band? My sister had this tape and it was F the Police and You Want to Get
Oh,
High with
and
the Sky.
NWA.
Yeah. Um, well, anyway, my dad confiscated that one when she was young, and yeah, that one never got seen again. It was
Yeah, that was
because,
NWA.
yeah, it was because of the lyrics, and the F and this and F and that. But for the most part, we were allowed to think for ourselves, to like, as long as it wasn't a danger to us, then we were
Yeah.
allowed to. One of my best friends in high school, and it was funny because the way my dad worded it one day, he's like, Michelle, do you know there's a black boy in the driveway? I'm like, oh, that's Ansel Sanders. And he was like, what? And I said, yeah. And he came in and my dad goes, hey, how are you? And he's like, oh, you ain't got to worry about me. He said, I laid in the tanning booth too long and then I got struck by lightning. I'm really
Oh
a
dear.
white man. I'm a white boy in a black boy fight.
Oh no.
And I'm still friends with him to this day. He's
Wow.
married, got kids. But that's what he used to tell my parents. He got struck by lightning or he'd been laying in a tanning booth too long.
All right, honey, we're gonna wrap this up.
Yep. I wish
So
we
this
had
is,
more participants.
I know we need to get more people in here, you know. Because this is a good conversation. It's a conversation that needs to be had, and people need to hear it. So we got to
Yeah.
figure out how. I got to figure out how to
A lot of people are afraid to talk.
get yeah, yeah, and it's like, you know, like this one person. I don't know who Mateus was, but he asked the question. I answered it. Does a person make you depression? No, it doesn't make you lose attraction to a person. If you may lose interest in that person, but not the attraction of them. No,
Right.
because you can love somebody all day long, but if you depressed, it doesn't mean that you stop loving them. It just means that you're just not interested. You know.
Yeah, and all these people I see signed up for, our group, and then I don't see posts. I don't see, many people in lives. And I'm thinking, what could we do that
Exactly.
would help them want to come out of their shell, or at least come into the room and listen to me and you act
Exactly.
like a bunch of fools, you know?
Well, that's
And then
funny. That's funny
maybe
because the
go ahead.
the the that's funny because I think the first one I did, um, I got, and I put it on YouTube. I got hit up from a counselor from Florida. He's a mental
Mhm.
health counselor, and he was just like, you know what, you're doing a good thing. Keep it going. You know, because mental health is a serious issue that needs to be addressed, and we need to keep talking about it. We talk about everything else under the sun. Why can't we talk about this? It's not taboo.
Well, and if we
Which
could get more people in here to talk about their mental health, maybe, at the end of the month, we do like one episode where we're doing like, we're into music, we're into all kinds of stuff. We could do some kind of a trivia thing where everyone gets to participate, you know.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
I
but
agree.
I wish more people would come in here and get the help that I'm getting.
Exactly. Because when me and Sherry was doing it, there was a whole bunch of people in there said, talking and stuff like that.
I
But
look
then
forward to
y'all,
my Friday lives.
exactly. And I said, and then when it comes around, don't nobody come in. It's like, Okay, we need you to come in. Okay, come on, come on. I said, because this is not like your typical live. We're not doing a live, you know, dealing with craft. And I don't want to be a part of that kind of community, because from what I hear and from what I understand, there's a whole lot of toxic negativity running through that community,
Phew.
you know?
Yeah.
And I want to do something completely different. I want to talk about something that's really important that we all deal with. You know, I'm not gonna say we all deal with, but we do
A
deal, a
majority
lot
of
of
it.
us, yeah, we deal with, you know, and and this is important.
It's okay to talk about it.
Exactly. I mean, we might be talking about something that you might be going through, that you probably needed to hear,
Right.
you know. We just want to let you know that you're not alone, that there's other people out there that's suffering as well.
And
You
even
don't
though
have to go through it.
well, and even though some of us have different situations, maybe one of our coping mechanisms, maybe that could help you,
Exactly.
or
Like
someone else's may help me.
exactly, because like I said, is that our situations may be different, but the end is still the same. The end result is still the same. So your traumatic experience is not the same as my traumatic experience. But at the end of the day, we still deal with the same issues and from our
Right.
traumatic issues. So that's what I mean when I say the situations aren't the same, but the end result is, you know.
Well, and
So
I think a lot of people, if they came in here, maybe, you know, they would learn. They would
mhm,
take away something from this, hopefully, that could help them.
exactly, exactly. Because that was another purpose of doing this, is to, be able to help the next person. If you feel like you're going through something one day that we've gone through, maybe it's something you needed to hear, you know, it's like we need to try to get, people in. I mean, you already joined up on the group, and I
Right.
do post when I go live. I do post before I go live,
Right.
you know. So it's like, okay, come on, people, really.
Everybody was so gung ho about it and wanting it to be done. And here, me and you are every week. We might as well just have our own little,
Yeah, right.
and just whatever you want to pop up on my phone during the week, you just come on.
I was
Before,
thinking, I was thinking because somebody said, Tia goes live one Friday night. I go live. I'm thinking, well, maybe we change it to like maybe a Saturday afternoon or a Sunday afternoon and let people, you know,
maybe. I
maybe
mean,
that'll help. Maybe the timing of it is bad.
right.
So,
You could try like doing a poll in the group to see what time the majority, or of the people. I mean, I don't mind just talking to you. You've helped me a lot, believe it or not. You really have. Um,
oh, you too.
hearing
You
your
help me too.
experiences,
Yeah,
and hearing how you've coped with it, and just listening to me. And I want to do that for other people, but if they don't come in, I can't.
exactly. And
So
a
if we
closed
could
mouth
find
don't
out,
get fed.
yeah, if we could just find out a time or a day or what we need to do to try and help these people come out of the closet, even if they just come in to say, hey,
Hmm. Hmm.
then that would be great.
So that's what I think I'll do tomorrow. I'll post up a poll and see what time and day they would like would be better for them. You know,
Right.
you know, because like I said, when me and Sherry we did our collab, a lot of people was in there And a lot of people was, like you said, was asking for it to be done. You
Mhm.
know, now that it's here and it's being done, then nobody want to come out. You know, but so that's what I'll do tomorrow. I'll post up in mental health, and
And if I'm not in the poll, you'll know that it's just it don't matter to me. Anytime's good for me.
okay. So we're gonna wrap this up for the night,
Okay.
and as usual, it was very good talking to you.
You too, Lisa.
And until next week,
Stay
I
safe.
oh, right. I think I might do a little YouTube live on do funny whipping chats. You know, I get to tell my funny stories because I got a lot of them. All right, and until next week, stay blessed, stay safe, and you know your grandson is in my prayers.
Thank you.
And wish him a speedy recovery.
I will. My little snickerdoodles.
And you have a good night.
You too. Bye.
Bye.